show you how to use pumpkin spice pronouns in sentences, so let's go.
And some people be like, oh, that's breaking the language. Well, no shade, it wasn't fitting for us anyway.
It's the fact that we are in stage 7 of genocide in America for trans people.
I will say, you are banned from TikTok, but I am not. And I have subscribed to all the woke people that you can find, all the lived out accounts. And so every now when I do this podcast, I often will react to some of this content, and I'm going to make you do it. And the ones I have particularly apply to trans, or also your fave, which is non-binary. So let's take a look at a couple of these videos.
Today I'm going to show you how to use pumpkin spice pronouns in sentences, so let's go. Pumpkin spice pronouns, oh my goodness, I love pumpkin spice so much. Azul, do you like pumpkin spice?
No. I love pumpkin spice.
Exactly. And if you're like, pumpkin spice pronouns, what are you talking about? This lady is crazy. Well, first of all, I'm not a lady. It's better not to assume somebody's gender, but I understand why you would, because we've been conditioned to do so, right? I do like to use the pronoun gal. I do like to call my wife, but that does not mean that we like other terms. Anyway, what are neopronouns? Well, here's a little definition that I hope can help in some type of way. I hope to help, but remember, even if it doesn't, you do not need to understand something in order to respect it. And that is the most important lesson I think I've ever learned in my life. But anyway, here's how to use pumpkin spice pronouns in sentences. Oh wait, it's not pumpkin spice together. So it would be like a separation. So you can either use pumpkin or spice pronouns. It would look like this in 2 different categories. You can use either set. Sometimes it depends on the day. Sometimes you're just trying things out. Sometimes it just works together and that's what you want. But the person will let you know, I promise, so don't worry about it. Pumpkin inspires me every day. Spice loves and accepts every bit of Spice's queerness. I actually love that. That sounds so cute.
Okay.
Okay. Where do we begin? I mean, it's amazing how anyone wonders why. You know, I often get this criticism, and I know you do too. Why do you focus so much on the leftists when conservatives say this and that? No one could demean what trans really is more than that one. And people like her who wake up, rub the crust out of their eyes and say, what do I want to make a video about today? I'm going to invent that there is a single person on the planet who uses pumpkin spice pronouns, and then I'm going to make a video with a disturbing amount of things to say about that, right? Like the fact that she kept going on so long was actually shocking. I was like, how could you even say this much?
Shut it off. There was more.
I know. I was like, how do you have this much to say about something you invented 5 minutes ago in your head? And like, it's just like, again, nothing could demean what trans really is more than that. You could literally we could be reacting to hateful conservative TikToks. That's a segment. We could do that. And nothing would make me feel more demeaned than that. I mean, not really on a personal level. She's not really hitting me, but you know what I'm trying to say. It's like, wow.
Yeah, I have a couple thoughts, but one, I think she just ruined Starbucks for me. As I sip out of my Starbucks cup, like, this person is not helping. And there are so many people like this person on TikTok. I don't even know that they think they're helping, because they're just like creating fodder for people who are anti-LGBT to lump us in with. And then be like, look, these people are all crazy. And it's like, most of us actually aren't. Even the TikTok comments regularly roast this girl to the point where she turns off comments. But these
That's
videos
an accomplishment.
Yes, when you lose TikTok, when you're so woke, you lose the support of the TikTok commentators. You've gone so far that we don't even have a map for you at that point. Yeah.
And you know, I reacted to her before on my podcast, and it's like, so she said that, you know, I don't go by she, her. I know you could look at me and think that, and I understand that, and it's like, I don't think you do understand that. I actually don't think you understand how pronouns work at all. I actually don't understand. I don't think that you understand that 99.9% of people don't put a 1,000th of the amount of thought that you do into it to be able to even come up with all this stuff. And in fact, even more extreme than that, they put 0 thought into it. It is a subconscious, you know, phrase, he or she, that we use. So you're on the wrong side of just like real life. It's like insane.
Yeah, I mean, this is the same person who had that meltdown, if you remember.
Yeah.
So they're not the most stable, but it is, the neopronoun thing is an entire concept where they literally argue that you can use any inanimate object as a pronoun. And I'm like, are you just trying to destroy our language? Like, that doesn't even make sense. And it's like when you present people with this proposition, because it really shouldn't be, but unfortunately it's often like, do you support LGBTQ plus or not? Right? It's like black or white. And in reality, there's shades of gray, there's nuances. You can support some things, but not other things. You could think some things go too far. But a lot of people are black and white thinkers. They're all or nothing. And when this is the kind of thing they encounter, they're going to go for the nothing. And to be honest, it's sometimes hard to blame them.
Oh, yeah. And like I was saying, so earlier we talked about how, it's people in the workplace that really are kind of steering the movement in a lot of ways against a lot of this because they're having to interact with people like this. Because make no mistake, she has this frilly music playing and she's like, by all accounts, beyond that psychobabble and beyond that just sort of serial killer demeanor, there is a nice girl clearly there. She's smiling and she feels that she is helping someone. But make no mistake, she will be the first person to go to HR and say you are misgendering her and need to be fired immediately and caused her emotional distress because you didn't call her a pumpkin spice latte. So people have to put up with this stuff in real life. So to you and I, we can laugh and it seems serious and it is funny. But to people who have to work with that, which is a lot of people now in today's age, that person could ruin their life,
So that actually brings me into the next TikTok I have for you, because some people are refusing to do their jobs if they get misgendered once.
I got misgendered at work on Wednesday by someone that has been corrected before, and it just hit me hard. I was 3 hours into my long shift. I don't even remember how long it was, maybe 8 hours, my 8-hour shift. And I immediately was like, no, I need to leave. So I left. I went home. And since then, I have been spiraling, which is not a fun thing to be dealing with when you are a broke person living in New York City and need to pay rent. So I'm getting ready to go to work right now, go to my other job. I called out last night and I'm having to talk myself into showing up today. And to all of my trans friends, to all of my trans followers, to any trans person that stumbles upon this video, I love you so much. I love you so, so much. I know how much this hurts. I think for a second I got too comfortable and I forgot how much this hurts me and I lost my usual coping skills. And so that's what I'm trying to work on now. I thankfully have people in my corner that are helping, but it's hard to get help when your instinct is to cut everyone off and refuse help. So to my trans friends, to all of the trans people watching this, I love you. I love you so much. To all of the cis people watching this, watch yourself. Check yourself.
To her. And I said her because, first of all, going back to that subconscious, like people say what makes sense, no one in their right mind would ever look at that person and say anything but she, because first of all, you're doing a video. You're doing the most female-coded video I've ever seen. You're in the mirror primping yourself, doing all these feminine like mannerisms. And then second of all, how broke are you if you left work because you heard a word you didn't like, you called in the next day, and then today you're considering pushing yourself to go to work? You can't be that broke, right? And she's a liar because she said, ever since I was misgendered, I've been spiraling. She said it with a smile. People can rewind it if they want. She's smiling about it. That's her real self because she was very excited to hop up on camera and complain about this for clout and views. This is actually the best thing that's happened to her in a while.
Yeah.
I do believe she's depressed.
I do feel bad for her a little bit on that part. I mean,
yeah,
mental health is no joke, but some of this is ridiculous. I mean, I laughed at the part where she was like, my long shift, my 8-hour shift. I'm like, so babe, you mean a normal shift? Like,
you mean a 9 to 5?
That's like
that you are so willing to give up because you heard a word, so you're just leaving?
Well, that's the thing that bothers me about this is like the lack of emotional resilience of even like a 6-year-old, not even a toddler. I almost said toddler, but like that's not even quite right. Like you lack even the basic emotional resilience of a toddler. And then it's so kind of offensive because the actual trans people that I know have been through shit, have been through hell and back. And so the idea that they would melt down and leave work because somebody didn't use the pronoun. And look, I use people's pronouns. Like I'm not trying to be a jerk to people. And if someone was trying to be a jerk, that sucks. But the idea that you would melt down and leave your job over someone else's word choice makes you look like an enormous snowflake. When in reality, most actual trans people are very thick-skinned because they've been through it and back.
100%. And we're so similar, Brad, because I was going to make that exact point. It's like, that's how you know that she's not really trans, because when you are really trans, there is a certain resilience you have, right? And it's like, even if you're a trans person who, you know, I don't experience getting misgendered in the wild, you know, people on Twitter and stuff, of course, say whatever they want about me. And many of those words used for me are he, because people think it's funny or they want to be aggressive or whatever. And that's fine. But in real life, it doesn't happen to me. But, you know, so obviously there are trans people who it does happen to them all the time. And if you are that type of trans person who is misgendered, even though you're making an effort, you do grow a resilience to it. You do grow a shell to it. And even if it stings a little bit, at a certain point, you're not on camera smiling about it. I was spiraling. That's how you know she's a liar. And then it's about her ego and that narcissist bone in her getting tickled. That's all it is.
Yeah, I mean, like, even as a gay person, like, I've mostly had it okay, but I've been chased by a homeless person screaming the F slur at me, like, in the streets of DC. And so you think I'm going to get mad because somebody, like, assumed I had a wife or assumed I had a girlfriend? Like, that's the equivalent. It's like, oh, I meet someone at work, I tell them, oh, yeah, my partner and I went here. And they're like, oh, what does she do or something? And I'd be like, oh, actually, he's a doctor, right? And then I move on with my day. If I was her, I'd be like traumatized, posting up on TikTok, like, had to leave my job today. I had to turn off Twitter. Someone assumed I had a wife. Had to call up my therapist for extra hours. Like that's literally where they're at.
And you definitely wouldn't say, I'm spiraling. Like, that's ridiculous. If you were really spiraling, you'd be looking like it. But you're so pumped to film that damn video. And you're perfecting your look in the camera. It's like, how much narcissism can you even point to in the video?
All right. So the next one I want to get your thoughts on. Have you heard about this whole like Roman Empire thing?
Yeah. And you know what's so funny is every LGBT person that I know has been in my DM saying that Jubilee debate I did is their Roman Empire.
That's funny. That's actually funny.
Mine too. Yeah.
But this person's Roman Empire is pretty interesting. So take a listen to this.
Do you want to know the trans version of the Roman Empire? It's the fact that we are in stage 7 of genocide in America for trans people.
This is so offensive to actual victims of genocide in the world.
I just came so close to pulling a Blossom and saying something violent about that person and what I maybe wanted to do or not do in that moment. How dare you? In this moment, speaking of moments, this worldly moment, just like, and are there 7 stages of genocide, or is like a point when genocide is happening and when it's not, right? Are there stages of, you know, intense politics? Sure. But I'm pretty sure you're in a whole different paradigm and universe once that genocide starts. There's a end point and a start point to that, and it's not 7 stages, 4 stages. How dare you? That was disgusting.
Yeah, it's rough, and it just discredits it, because it's like, I have actually looked into the data on this, and transgender people are not more likely to be murdered.
No.
But they constantly talk about this like epidemic of trans murders, and anybody being murdered is sad. And when it happens to a trans person, it's just as sad as when it happens to anybody else. But it's like, I hate this fear porn narrative, because I'm imagining a lot of like LGBT young people watching these creators on TikTok and like thinking the world is a much scarier and nastier place for them than it actually is. And I don't want them to have the wrong impression and live their lives in fear like that.
Yeah. And I did a episode of Timcast the other day, and one of the things that I made a point to say in there, we were talking about how there is this inherent pessimism among leftists, this inherent like, the world is doomed. You see it with how they worship climate change. And you know how I was raised as someone in the California school system to believe my entire childhood that there was an expiration date on the world and the planet and the health of the planet, and that there would be a, you know, I've lived through now 7 points of no return with climate change, and they just love getting all freaked out that everyone's going to die soon. You know, this, trans people are being genocided. What? You know, and then you can have nuanced opinions on abortion, but the way that some of the more extreme leftists they have really worship abortion rather than just fight for the right to have it. Right? They worship this inherent like ugliness and pessimism about how there's no point of living. And that is disgusting. And for me to view, I'm supposed to view her, even if I can believe that she is misguided and being dramatic, I'm supposed to view her as someone who is in this fight progressing the quality of my life as a trans person, a trans activist, right? When in reality, what you're doing is you're scaring people like me, people who are already struggling with mental issues in other ways. You're also adding in that fear, and you're not progressing our mindset to anything healthier. You're not encouraging us to be, you know, upstanding citizens that fight for, you know, our dreams and want to live full lives. You're telling us we're in the middle of a genocide, so what's the point? That's what you're doing. And that is sick.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And I hate the alarmism and doomerism that you find in so much of leftist politics, but especially on TikTok. It's like a really, really prevalent on there. So one last TikTok I want to get your thoughts on. It is time for you to listen up, because this person on TikTok has a lesson for you in non-binary linguistics.
All right, y'all know what time it is. It's time for more non-binary linguistics. Because let's be real, we in a different class than y'all, and I'm still not doing math. All right, come into class, don't be late. So to start today, we'll be talking about some gender-neutral synonyms that you can add to your vocabulary. Instead of saying phrases like ladies and gentlemen or boys and girls, try saying phrases like distinguished guests or beautiful people. Hell, Halloween coming up. You can even say goblins and ghoulies, and it would still be inclusive to all genders. All right, this one is for all my Spanish-speaking bilingual baddies out there. The Spanish language is traditionally a gendered language, like many, no shade. The gender-neutral conjugation in the Spanish language is ending words in an E. So, with a word like nosotros or nosotras, you would end it in an E and say nosotres, and that would make it gender-neutral. Easy as that. And some people be like, oh, that's breaking the language. Well, bitch, no shade, it wasn't fitting for us anyway. And we not going nowhere, so... Exactly, thank you. Moving on, this last one is extra credit, and it's nonverbal communication. If you get this, you get 10 points. All right, who got that? I know you got that. Period. All right, y'all, class is indeed over. Shagova. I'll see y'all later.
Okay, first of all, this I'm conflicted on this, because one thing I do love is the gays. In terms of, not in a condescending head pat way, I genuinely enjoy, and I always have my entire life, the company of like a confidently, openly gay man who's not afraid to be whatever level of effeminate is natural in their spirit. Because what's beautiful about that is they don't have to force themselves into any category. They just are themselves. That's why I like that, because it's so, you know, transparently honest. But that's the problem. Someone gassed these gays up to believe that because they have that spirit of the gassed up effeminate nature, that means that now they're in this different category and they are non-binary and they're a different gender, and that makes them trans, rather than just, again, it's abusive in terms of you're telling them that it's not okay to just be gay. They have to find these other labels, when in reality, baby, you're just a feminine gay man. And I love that for you. You should love that for you as well.
Yeah, I actually completely agree. Like, he seems funny. Like, I am not somebody who's going to judge you because you're a man and you have nails, or because you are sassy. Like, whatever. Do whatever you want. Like, LOL. But most of what he said, though, is like either ridiculous. Like, so I minored in Spanish. I'm not fluent, but I do know that if you went up to somebody and said nosotros, who's a native Spanish speaker, they look at you and be like, the fuck?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, you can't just colonize their language in the name of gender neutrality.
That's the word. Hi. Yeah. I mean, Spanish, I don't speak Spanish, but I do know that it's a gendered language. Like, from what I've heard, even like the word like coffee table has a gender to it when you speak it in Spanish. Like, that's true, right? Is that true?
Yes. Everything is either masculine
so it's like,
or feminine.
right. So it's like, no. So nothing you're saying makes sense on even like a logical level. And then also just be you, because all that confidence and the joy that I do see in you actually does get overshadowed by the clear lack of confidence that you are searching for these other labels, and you are searching to control others through language, which only comes from the place of someone who is trying to grasp onto power because they feel powerless in their own life. So I hate to psychoanalyze all these people, but I'm into doing that lately because I feel like it explains so much of their behavior. Once you start understanding why they're doing it, they try to control you through language because they have no control in other areas of their life.
That makes sense. And the other thing too is like simultaneously the world is falling and the sky is falling. And also like their pressing problems include the terms ladies and gentlemen. It's like it really can't be both.
Right. No one has time to give a shit about that. Just being honest. I mean, no one has the time for that. I'm trans and I don't have the time for that. Like, who can?